Puss in Boots is more than just the best anime to come out in 2022. I mean, there's a cat with boots, what more do you need? But I think it's time we took off our puss-tinted glasses and see this movie for what it's really trying to say. There's something darker lurking under the surface of this colorful animation. Dreamworks is putting its very soul on the line, and Jack Horner, he's at the center of everything. Audiences seem to love him, but despite his incomparable popularity, everyone seems to be afraid of the truth behind what this man represents. So let's peel back the layers and take a look at what exactly Dreamworks is hiding. I'm not going to summarize the entire movie, it's really nothing special, but I am going to give you a refresher on Big Jack Horner. Jack Horner is the villain of this film, the one and only character to strike fear into the heart of our favorite fearless hero. He's a gargantuan mass of a man whose size reflects the power of his pastry empire. He sells world-famous pies to fund his hobby of collecting magical artifacts. In a sense, he's a man whose hunger can never be satisfied, in terms of both his pies and his magical power. Throughout the story, he burns through his magical artifacts and his men in the chase to claim the last wish, which he planned to use to take all the magic in the world for himself. We'll get back to this later. Now, where does this villain even come from? What are his origins? Well, Dreamworks seems to have taken this character from an ancient verse of poetry, which I will recite here. Little Jack Horner sat in the corner eating a Christmas pie. He put in his thumb and pulled out a plum and said, "What a good boy am I." Jack Horner comes from an old source of magic known as the public domain. This isn't the first time a Puss in Boots movie has had a nursery rhyme character as the main villain, but Humpty Dumpty is nowhere near as obscure as this guy. Dreamworks had to do some serious digging for this one. Some might say they're scraping the bottom of the barrel, but others might argue that they're tapping into older magic. Why use a nearly forgotten public domain character? I believe Dreamworks is trying to prove a point. Now, many consider this movie to be a breath of fresh air in a year with not one but 3 Pinocchio movies. This movie was a risk, committing to an animation style that we have never seen from Dreamworks before. The movie was a critical and commercial success, but what if it wasn't? The movie is Dreamworks' last wish. The characters in this movie are more than willing to get their hands dirty in order to obtain their wish, and Dreamworks as a company is willing to get their hands dirty if they don't. Their wish is to make beautiful movies that ignore Hollywood trends and focus on artistry. If they fail here, they have no choice but to give up on that wish. They'll have to change their strategy. This is where Jack Horner comes in. Jack Horner claims that he doesn't have a tragic backstory, but we know that's not true. In fact, I can pinpoint the exact moment Jack Horner's villain arc began. That's right, it all started here, when he lost his audience to Pinocchio. Remember how 2022 had 3 Pinocchio movies? That's what Dreamworks was up against. If Dreamworks lost to Pinocchio, then they would have the same backstory as Jack Horner, the beginning of a dark path that would ultimately lead to their self-destruction. The company would have been forced to backtrack into safer but soulless options, making up their losses by churning out generic garbage, flooding the market with uninspired movies to try to generate maximum revenue for minimum work. Their magical ideas and stories would be callously used up and discarded in the pursuit of wealth. The animators will be viewed as expendable, just like the bakers that are sacrificed along the way. And what about the characters? Jack Horner himself could mark the beginning of a horrible trend. Why invent new characters when you could scrape obscure characters out of the bottom of the barrel? It doesn't matter if the audience likes or cares about these characters. It just matters that it's something that is sold before. In other words, Jack Horner is Disney. Jack wants a monopoly on magical characters and artifacts the way Disney wants the monopoly on the entertainment industry, buying up smaller companies to take control of their intellectual properties. Both want to be the one and only source of magic in the world, and they'll take it from everyone else if they get the chance. Of course, this mindset isn't sustainable. If Dreamworks follows Disney's model of consuming and expanding, it runs the risk of bloating and collapsing under its own weight. close to achieving its wish, but never really having a chance. But thankfully, that's just the bad ending. The Last Wish was a hit with the audiences, and it seems like people want to see more of this. So, for now, we don't have to worry about 100 Boss Baby sequels, and we can instead enjoy a world where DreamWorks doesn't have to become Jack Horner.